A church can be completely faithful and completely stuck at the same time. Same gospel as the church down the road that's overflowing. Same prayers, same heart for God, but one is growing and one is stuck. And the reason is not what anyone will tell you. I run a church tech startup. I'm also a deacon at my own church. And I've spent months chasing one question. Why do two churches, both faithful, preaching the same gospel, end up so different? One stuck, one growing. Here's what I found. And it's almost never a faithfulness gap. It's whether they built a system. Paul said it himself. You build your church with gold or with hay. Faithfulness is the foundation, but Paul didn't say, lay a foundation and stop. He said, build. So I built one, an operating system for my own church. But then I almost ruined it. But the mistake I made taught me something you could use for your own church. That's what this video is. Point number 1, the gap, doing church on purpose. So let's start with that gap. What is actually different between the church that is stuck and the church that's growing? Every faithful church wants the same things. People to belong, to grow, to become disciples who make disciples. That's not the difference. The difference is whether anyone is tending to how that happens. Picture the same guest. First Sunday, sits in the back, slips out before the last song. In the stuck church, what happens next? Likely nothing. Maybe somebody said hi, maybe they got an email, and a month later, no one has noticed, they never came back. In the growing church, that same guest gets a real conversation that week. A message from a person, not a system. A clear next step, and someone whose actually job it is to make sure they're not forgotten. Same guest, same gospel, preach from both pulpits. One church designed what happens next, the other left it by chance. I started calling that operational discipleship, doing on purpose what most churches leave to chance. And here's what got me. The parts of the church we never leave to chance, we don't. We don't wing the sermon, we don't wing the doctrine, we build with gold right there. But the journey of an actual person through church, that somehow we leave to luck. The gap, not faithfulness, intention. So here's what I almost got wrong. I built the answer, a whole system using all my product knowledge I've known for years. And I was about to walk in and hand it to my leadership team. I caught myself just in time. Because here's the truth I almost missed. A church will not run a system that was handed to it. Doesn't matter how good it is. If it's your framework, dropped into their church, they'll nod, it'll sit in a drawer. So you don't install a system, you discover it. And here's the good news. You can run that discovery yourself. That's what the rest of this video is for. So point number 3, how to run church discovery yourself. So I spent my career building products used by millions of people. And in product, there's a discipline we call discovery. So before you build anything, you don't assume you know what people need. You actually go find out. You bring a sharp guess, but you hold it loosely. You talk to real people. You let what's true change your mind. So I took that same discipline and I pointed it at my church. That's the whole idea, a church discovery. And here's how you run one. First, the posture. Remember, you're not the expert with the answer. You're the facilitator. Your job is just to bring good questions and then get out of the way. So people who actually shepherd the church produce the answers themselves. Then the shape. 5 working sessions, about 6 to 8 weeks. Each session is just one question, one honest conversation, one written answer before anyone leaves the room. And the next session builds on the last. So here's the part that makes it all work. Walk into every session with a hypothesis, a sharp one on purpose, because a blank page freezes the room, and a strong on answer is easy to argue with. So put your guess on the table, and you tell the team, tear it apart. A few rules to keep it honest. Put your guesswork down, then step back. The team writes the words, or they'll quietly drop it later. Honesty beats precise, don't let the room polish. And anybody leaves without one written answer, a session without that is just a meeting. That's the method. Now the 6 questions you run it on. 1 question per session, answered in order because each one builds on the last. Number 1, where are we now? What does your church actually measure? Most churches, they just measure the edges, just attendance and giving, but whether people are actually growing, that part is usually in the dark. Now start there and get honest about it. 2, who are you actually for? I'm sure your mission is settled, but who specifically? Which people in your town is your church uniquely for? Most churches have never said it out loud. 3, how do you show up? Now, this is not your logo. It's the way people experience you before they ever hear a sermon. How do you show up now? How do you want to show up? How are you remarkable? 4, what's the real journey? How does a person actually move through your church? From never heard of you towards real spiritual maturity. This is the big one. By mapping honestly. Not the journey you wish for, the one that is actually happening now. 5, where do you lose people? Once you can see that journey, where does it leak? Where do people fall away quietly? Every church has a spot. Most have never actually named theirs though. 6, what should we measure? Now and only now. What are the few true numbers that tell you is the mission working or not? Not vanity numbers, the real ones. 6 questions, 6 sessions of honest conversations with the people you lead. But at the end, you don't have my system, you have yours, discovered, written down, and owned by the people who run it. Point number 5, why this must never become corporate. Now I know what some of you have been feeling this whole video. Questions, measuring, sessions. It can sound corporate, like you're turning the bride of Christ into a business. Let me give you the line that you do not cross. A system does not grow a church. It cannot. It never will. 1 Corinthians 3 again, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. And growth was never a number on a dashboard. Growth is a person who was far from God and now isn't. That is the work of the Holy Spirit, not yours, not the systems. So what is this discovery for? It clears the road. It removes the obstacles. It does not produce fruit. The moment the metric becomes the master, you stop building with gold. You started building with hay. Here's the test to hold your discovery against. One question. Would a tired pastor look at this and feel helped or feel managed? If it makes a faithful church more faithful, keep it. If it makes ministry feel like a job with quotas, burn it. It's hay. So run the discovery, build the system, but never ask it to do the one thing only God can do. So back to those 2 churches, both faithful, one stuck, one growing. The difference was never faithfulness. It was whether someone tended the how on purpose. Faithfulness is the foundation. Nothing replaces it. But Paul didn't say, lay a foundation and stop. He said, build. And you don't build by installing someone else's system. You build by discovering your own. Faithfulness is the foundation. But Paul said build. So build with gold.